Welcome back to We Was Siloed. I'm your host, Brandon,
I'm your other host, Chanel.
and we are back for episode one of season 2 of Silo. Hold on. Oh, sorry, I got distracted. I was
Oh.
I was looking at the live stream and I was like, hold on, nothing's playing. But I forgot it's a delay. So that sounds terrible for you people listening on podcasts, but that's why I delayed. But we're back for episode 1 of season 2 of Silo. Probably one of my 5 favorite shows of last year or whatever it came
Truly.
out. I
You
love
really
this
love
show
the show.
and I was
You
looking
do.
forward to it because the show has so many mysteries and you're always trying to figure out like what the hell is happening here. And the first season delivered on that. And so if the second season delivers on that, that'll be great because this episode, while it wasn't much dialogue in this episode, a lot kind of happened and it made me ask a lot of questions, which we'll get to in the recap. But before we get
I
to
didn't look anything up. I didn't look up anything.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that because you already almost ruined the podcast for me last year.
Okay, but it's already, what I learned is already clear.
No, it's not. You found out why they're in the silo. I don't know why they're in the silo.
You're right.
I don't know why the hell they're in the silo. That's like the biggest mystery of the show is why the hell they're there. But before we get into the recap, those of you listening to us on podcasts, mostly on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, although I see some of you on Amazon Music, wherever you listen to us, you can go leave us a 5-star review, and we'll read it on the show. You can also follow us on YouTube, which we're streaming live right now on YouTube at youtube.com/@WeWasWatching. Go there, like our videos, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can see us go live whenever we do. You can also email the show at wewasdragonspod@gmail.com, and we'll read those emails on the air. And for now, you can follow us on Twitter at WeWasWatching. Although we may be end up on Blue Sky or somewhere else.
We probably
shortly.
will. We simply haven't set it up yet.
We also got an email from Lori who said, just finished listening, and I'm truly sorry for giving away the end of Vic. Listen, Lori, this is not your fault.
Oh, no, don't apologize. It's not your fault.
Chanel searches out for spoilers. She did it for this show. She did it for House of the Dragons. She can't help herself. She doesn't know how to avoid things. That's not your fault.
No, it's my fault. I was traveling. Always feel free to email us as soon as you see something. Like, please. Always.
Vic was my boy, and I was pissed. I also agree that Rex was Oz and his siblings' daddy. Perhaps we will find out in the next season. I enjoyed the series and will work on not spoiling for you and Brandon. Oh, no, I was good because I don't check the emails until the day of the show. You know, Chanel,
I'm on top of the show 24/7, so I do in fact see the emails immediately. So that's probably the difference right there, I think.
That is a difference. Yeah, I try to avoid that because I just expect people to send us spoilers at that point.
No, that's fair. No, I mean, again, we'll never be mad at y'all. Yeah, we'll never be mad at y'all for emailing us. Like I was just, I think I had just forgotten because usually, to be clear, we watch the night of, like try to be up to date, especially because there's no guaranteeing anything with the way that the internet is. Like you could see a spoiler on accident, like truly. So don't you worry about it, girl.
But keep emailing us and thank you for listening. I hope you like Silo as much as I do. We got a comment on our podcast on Spotify. I'm not reading that comment. Oh my! Why did you accept this? I'm deleting this. What the hell?
Oh no! Wait! What does it say? No, because Spotify started just taking any English comments.
Oh no! I'm good. I don't need this person listening to our show.
Wait! Is it terrible?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Wait, don't delete it before I can see it.
No, you don't need to see this.
Oh, no, I do need to see this. It says, it's a very difficult to listen to your podcast. The female host needs to go. Is it because... I wonder what I said. I actually don't care what I said, but I wonder if it's like, is it because I'm a girl Is it just because I talk?
Or here's the interesting thing about this asshole. He did use female in the proper context.
Oh, right? Yeah, the female host.
When you're describing, yes.
Yeah.
But female hosts are like, that is the proper context to call a woman a female. So maybe he's not terrible, but telling my co-host needs to go, fuck you. You can go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's actually going to ever happen, unfortunately. This is kind of what the show is. It's like literally us. But I do understand your frustration because sometimes I do talk, I do get on my own nerves. But yeah, you can fuck off for sure. Hey, you know what you can do? If you want me to go, just go ahead, go to our anchor.fm/WeWasPodcast, go to the part where there's sponsorships and pay me to go away. It's called listener support. If you give the podcast $1 million, I will quit. I'll quit right now.
We got a comment on YouTube from Teddy, said, I was trying to like Oz until he did it, Vic. WTF.
Oh, yeah, exactly. He ruined it for himself.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't help himself. I
just want to say one last thing. Like, please, if you are not sure where you want to watch, we can actually monetize if we get more listeners on Spotify. So think about that. If you are not sure where you want to listen to podcasts, otherwise, continue to listen to us however you want to and continue to comment. And then we are on YouTube, which I think Brandon already mentioned, but we always, I think Tuesday nights is pretty good for streaming right now, just because I cannot do Monday nights and our shows come out Friday and Sunday, and they're realistically
could do Sunday afternoon.
We could do Sunday afternoon. Oh, hey, Teddy. We could do Sunday afternoon. So potentially it'll be Sunday or Tuesdays. The point is that look out for us early in the week. Right. We'll be trying to cover both shows to the best of our extent and other stuff in between. And we are still like, we had a really exciting run with industry. Penguin was like a cool new show. And so we are always like trying to talk about like underrated shows and putting them out there. But I think the shows that we're starting to cover now are like really are less underrated and more like critically acclaimed, which is dope.
Yeah, so if you haven't noticed, this is Silo, but we're also going to be doing Dune. So we're going to be trying to do 2 shows at the same time for the first time. So bear with us on that. Because 2 shows that we both want to watch. Although I thought Chanel wasn't going to like Dune, but we'll get to that. You can listen to the next episode to see why I said that. But in the meantime, Chanel, what did you think about the return of Silo before we get into the recap?
Interesting, because I didn't have the energy to go back and watch the whole season. Like sometimes I really do. I like sometimes some shows I like industry, I went back from season 1 and like watched because I really love the show. Silo, I was like, okay, there's too much going on here. Like I almost forgot about Rashida and African MLK. And so I was just like, okay, so am I going to enjoy this? But I forgot that like I do enjoy being in the silo. I'm so glad we didn't see Common's leather jacket yet. So we're gonna wait for that. I'm not looking forward to that. I think he's gonna act his ass off, but the leather jacket makes me so mad because I feel like he's playing the same person in different. Like I think I've just seen him with that leather jacket in 2 other movies. But anyway, Rebecca Ferguson, right? You know, she actually links our 2. This should just be We Was Watching Rebecca Ferguson, because you know she links our 2 shows together.
She's on Dune?
In the movies.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, I didn't see
10,000 years. Yeah. No, 10,000 years later. But yes, yeah, she was acting her ass off. I love it solo. This is like Rick walking around the landscape when he first got the hospital in the beginning of Walking Dead. And like, it's just, there's always this tension they really drove up about like somebody else being there. And then I think it's starting to give us more insight, like, because we obviously know now that this silo isn't the only silo in the world that exists. So it's like, what does this look like and what does it mean? And then they alluded to in the first season that like there was potentially a tunnel underneath. Hey Teddy, you watched season 1. Okay, great. Because I think, okay, so Teddy's saying that he uses this on Spotify. Thank you. Silo is like, yeah, anyway, I enjoyed it. And I am interested in like how, like, okay, so there's apparently supposed to be a tunnel between the bottom. And I wonder, like, does that connect all the silos? Are we like, what does this mean? Is it like a whole silo nation? We see now that every silo is in different states, and so now I'm wondering, like, oh shit, like, are they the only silo alive? Like, what is it? And so even though I know why they're siloed, I don't know anything about what's happening right now. So I thought it was a great season. I will say one thing that has me kind of excited but was kind of irritated was when you watch the preview now, because I went back and watched the trailer again after the first season, the first episode, and I realized 90% of the trailer happened in the first episode, so they're not giving much away. And so that could be a good thing. What about you? What are you feeling?
I loved everything about it except one small thing. But like, I'm in love with the show. I'm in love with Apple TV. I haven't watched the show on Apple TV Plus that I haven't liked yet. I haven't watched a single one. Everything that I've watched, I've loved. I almost wanted to just be a podcast that only did Apple stuff, so maybe they could pay us. But no, I was super excited for this. I loved it. It was very little dialogue, but a lot of action.
I'm down for whatever. We could be a PBS podcast if that's okay.
A lot of silent acting, but timely flashbacks. But what was interesting to me, the one thing I would have preferred is last year they put out episode 1 and episode 2 on the first day, right? So, because if you remember in the first season, you see the whole first episode is the sheriff and Rashida Jones, right? And her thing, her whole arc happens in one episode, right? And then the second episode is like the fallout from that. And then the rest of the season is like Jules and the stuff that happens with her. And so I thought it would have been effective this season to do the first episode of what the hell happened with Jules, which is what we got. And then the second episode would be, how did the silo that she was in react to what happened with Jules? Like, what is their reaction to this? And then we go full speed with the rest of the season. So I still think that's what we're going to get next episode. But I would have preferred they released both those at the same time, just so we're not left wondering, like, what's happening with Bernard, what's happening with Walker and everybody in the Down Deep, and how they're reacting to this. Sheriff Billings, Mr. Dudley Do-Right, what the hell is he up to with his shaking hand?
Like, the black stuff. One. I love him. Oh yeah, he had a shaky hand. See, these are good memories. I'm glad that you reminded me. I don't want to have to watch it. I want you.
He got the syndrome. Is what they call it.
Yes,
the syndrome.
That he's gonna die, but he was also.
No, I don't think you die. I just think like they got a rule about the syndrome, and you can't do shit if you got that thing. I don't think he was gonna die.
No, you're right.
But let's get into this.
It's just like he won't be able to do his job, and he wants to serve.
All right. So, episode 1 was called The Engineer for good reason. And I say this with all due respect. This is the most resourceful bitch I've ever seen in my entire life. Like,
oh yeah, she had you want to talk about why would they pick somebody from engineering? Why would they pick somebody from the bottom of the silo? Because she could restart society. She could build Wi-Fi back.
Yeah. We see first, but the episode kicks off with a flashback. And we don't know how far back this was, which is another mystery, which is interesting to me. We have an idea that it's a decent amount of time, but no time period was given. But a boy named Timmy is running through a dark-ass silo with a torch, and that shit is toe up, the silo. And he runs past a sign, and it's like the Founders, which we've seen in the first silo, but it's like liars and graffiti written all over it. So these people have figured something out, or they thought they figured some shit out. And he gets to a section with people, and this black dude's like, "Hey, dog, you can't come in." He's like, "I got a message from engineering, like, let me through." And so they let him through, and we see all these people huddled up in this dark area. And he gets through, and he goes to, and he finds out that he's going to the sheriff, who's his daddy. And the sheriff is like, "What are you doing here, dog? I thought, like, what are you doing?" He's like, "I had this message, I had to get it to you." He gives him the message. The message says, "The generator will flood in 15 minutes. And I said, oh, these motherfuckers really want to leave. Because if they're flooding the generator, that means they think, oh, it's good to go outside. Like, we're getting up on out of here. We don't even need this shit no more.
Mm-hmm. They're not giving themselves an option, which is so sad, knowing that 5 minutes later, we know what happens. But what I will say is interesting about Silo is and it's very triggering in real life as well. But you have these people who are not being taught history. And so there's some inevitable things that will happen in society, like challenging government or having questions or being skeptical. And so what their government does incorrectly is they don't address it. And so it's like, I think that there is what I'm suspicious of is that the guy, Tim Robbins, and them, like, I think he knows. Mm-hmm. I think he knows what's really happening. Well, he does know. But maybe the plot is lost of what really happened however long ago. And so the point is that because there's it's better not to scare the people mentality, the people are more likely to revolt every single time than if they found a way to teach history in a way that wasn't like, don't fear of the revolt would kill you. And so the irony is that even though that silo is not the silo that
Jules,
what's her name in the show? Jules is from, and they still have another story of a revolt that ended wrong. And so the truth is the leadership is not lying to them. The revolt did go and it was bad, and it would have been bad had they all left. That's 100% true.
Well, yeah, the rebellion in Juliet silo got squashed. It wasn't successful. But I did want to talk to you about this for a longer conversation a little bit later, because I have a interesting opinion that I would not have in real life as a progressive person, but in the show, in the context of the show, I have a different opinion. So he tells the guy, take Timmy to safety, and then he rings the bell 5 times, and that's like, it's time to roll out. And they start walking up the silo, and they got this big ass board, which we find out that part of the silo, which to me looked like IT or judicial, whatever floor that was, they like chopped off the bridge to get to that side of the silo. And so the board was to basically become a bridge so they could get to the other side. And that other side, there's people over there, and they're all barricaded. And Russell, some guy named Russell's there, and we hear the sheriff say, we got to take Russell alive. And then all hell breaks loose. They got guns, the side that's like on the other side of the bridge. They got guns. They shooting the rebels. Rebels got all types of makeshift swords and armor and shit. Some of them are falling off, getting shot, but they overwhelmed them, start whipping their ass, and they grab the dude, Russell. And then we cut to just a random cut to like the sheriff with his wife. And this was very interesting because this was like very cryptic. The sheriff says, why wouldn't he open the door? Who is he? Who is he that he's talking about? They said, his wife said, do you think Russell's lying? He said to his wife, do you think Russell's lying? His wife said, I don't know. He said, well, there's only one way to find out. And his wife said, well, what if he was lying? And the sheriff said, then we're all dead anyway. Which sounds to me that like somebody said it's okay to go outside. This is what it sounded like to me. Somebody says it's okay to go outside. He's wondering if it's the truth. And then he's like, fuck it. We finna die anyway. We already rebelled. We might as well go see. And so then they cut to the sheriff. He's got a flag. They open the door to go up out the silo. Everybody's cheering like, yeah, let's run up on out of here. Let's get up on out of here, buddy. We about to take over this real world. And they get up out there and they cut to black. And next thing you know, it's the present day and it's a bunch of corpses. And they all dead. And I want to know, like, who tried to come back in? How long does it take them to die? Like, do you die? I mean, actually, we know that they die really quickly because even with the suit on, right? With the suit on, they walk outside, they look around for a second, then they come clean the sensor. And by the time they try to make it up over the hill, they dead, right? So it's like 5 minutes. And so that's with the suit on. And so even though they had the bad tape. So without a suit, them motherfuckers might have died in like 2 minutes. Like a bunch of them, like whoever was at the back may have got back in, but them people at the front was not up in there at all.
Yep. And so I think the other crazy part was that like everybody in the silo was ready to go. So there wasn't even anybody who was like, all right, we're going to send the first group out. We're going to close the door. We're going to double check.
Well, as far as we know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But like from what we see, it seems like I guess what I'm trying to say is it wasn't like 5 brave people went out first and then 5 more after that. It's like they were all like back to back to back ready. They all went. And so they were definitely going scorched earth. Like it was like deal or no deal, basically. Like we're either going to go out or we're going to die. And there they picked both. The thing I will, going back to what you said though about what I think what they were saying is, I think somebody had like somebody had a key or an answer to something, because what I really think happened, here's what I think happened. I think that there's a door to another silo beyond that gate, based on what we saw at the very last scene. And so I think that the guy who has the key or the answer or the code to that would rather die than give that up, because he recognizes that he's endangering that whole other silo. And I think the people who are like, as we see, people who are in charge of one silo are like, I can, not only do I want to protect y'all, I will under no circumstances endanger a whole new silo, because it's the same as like, if there's a disease that develops in one and you expose to others, like let alone whatever's happening outside, like you've killed potentially all of humanity at that point. So I think that's what happened. And then agreed, we don't know who lied, but I think it's the same way of like, there's some critical information missing, so that people are like, well, things aren't adding up, and the only conclusion that makes sense right now is the government is lying and they're trying to control us, which is true. But because they don't understand whatever's happening outside, the government doesn't either. So I think the government should just be more clear, like, we don't know what the fuck's happening, but we're so sure. Or they should do like a lottery, like the lottery, and one person a year should just be like, all right, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna report live. And I don't know why they don't just like, why, like, I forget what even the motivation is behind the camera showing, like, I know they wanted to make it seem nice, but like, I don't understand why not just show like, this is what it really looks like.
Well, it's so that, I guess it's so that they feel like they were justified, and then if you think it's nice, you're gonna walk away, not try to get back in, and then you walk away, and then you die, and people on the inside see you as, oh, it's bad. But okay, we might as well talk about it now, because this is important to me. So usually I would be with you, but I mean, we live in a world where we got science and we got schools and we teach people things like the earth is round, and we still got millions of motherfuckers who like, fuck you, I don't believe you, the earth is flat, right? And so in this world where it appears to be life or death if you go out that motherfucker, they are basically like, if we told them the truth, it's still going to be some motherfuckers who's like, I don't believe you, I'm going to try this shit up anyway, right? And so what they do is they basically manipulate it so that no one does that, right? And so if you don't explain to them what the world outside is like, right? Because if you tell them about the world outside, they're going to get curious. Even if you tell them it's fucked up. I want to see the ocean. I want to see the stars. I want to see it for myself. I don't trust you. Blah, blah, blah. The way that they do it is the only interaction they have on the outside world is a desolate view on the monitor. And then when the motherfucker goes out there to clean, they die in 5 minutes, right? And so if that's all you know of the outside world, you're going to be like, okay, I'm in here for a good reason, right? And that's the only way to control the population from trying to rebel. Now, what happens is they're so mischievous with it that they can't always clean up their shit, which is going to make people question you more, right? Because they're so mischievous with it. Because I think you're right. I'd have been like, if I would do everything they do, except if somebody questions me, like, you want to go outside? I'd be like, yeah, go the fuck outside. Go. Like, if I was in charge, if I was Bernard, not like the people. If I was Bernard, I'd be like, yeah, take your ass outside. And then they go outside and they rot and die. And then you see them rot and die, right? Because the other thing is, when they're in those suits, because what Jules saw, which we'll get to now, is a ton of corpses. Just dead, black, tarred up, disgusting corpses.
Yeah, crazy.
When they're in them suits, you can't see that through the monitor, right? So you just see somebody pass out in a suit. So you think, oh, it's not that bad. Like, you know, they're passed out in the suit, but you can't see their corpse skeletons and all that shit. So it's a way to like keep them away from that visual. But we get to the present day.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think it's like, just if I was in, I mean, I think you're right. But like, for example, by telling people, hey, this is how you only scare people into using condoms by telling them what super gonorrhea is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I do think there's just something about like, I guess all I would do differently is I would acknowledge, like, because when they redid the edict in the beginning, I was like, okay, they acknowledge we don't know why we're here. All we know is we got. So like, actually, they're not lying in terms of we don't know why the fuck we're here. All we know is this is it. Like everything they're saying is actually pretty accurate. The problem is I would show the world for what it is, and I would mic up or have some kind of community. Like I'll give them a little whiteboard and chalk and be like, all right, send us a message. Is it hot? Is it cold? What's happening? And then I would actually create a signal for them to communicate with me because they have the camera. So it's like, find a way for them to communicate with me so that we know what's happening, because that's all we need is one person a year to go out and be like, look, I want to go out and clean. Oh shit.
It's but who's to say they can come back in?
No, they're dying. They're going to die. I'm just saying that, like, at least we know they're like, oh, I'm dying. I can't breathe. There's nothing out here. I see what you're saying. Or they're like, oh, I see this. I see there's ruins in the outside, but there's nothing out here. Don't come out. And then I'm hearing from like Rashida Jones, who was passionate and pregnant and wanted to go out. And it's like, no, I actually fucked up. Like I think I would be all right, well, that was my once a year. We'll see if it's better next year. And I do think like the crazy part about the silo is there will be a time when whatever's happening won't be happening. So there does have to be some type of check-in mechanism. And I think that's where they're messed up. Is like, I think a better way to say it would be, hey y'all, we want to go outside too. We just, based on the data we have, it says that it's dangerous to go outside. So how about like whoever wants to clean will signal to us and we will like give them everything they need to be honest and report to us accurately. And then whoever wants to go will be that like hero that we will say who will sacrifice. That's what I think is different. But yeah, I mean, I fuck with you. I agree. Like it is not, I'm saying that as if people won't rebel no matter what. I do like, what I like about this show though, is they don't give, everyone's pretty smart. Like we don't see too many like, we haven't seen too many assholes like just going home hitting their wife. Like it's just been, it's like they're keeping things focused to where I'm like, all right, let's focus on the show and the intrigue and let's not get into the fact that like people are like this. And the last thing is, it reminds me of this movie that came up on Hulu and I forgot, I never finished watching it. Did you ever watch The High Rise?
No, I've never seen it.
Loki is in it, and
Tom Hiddleston.
Hiddleston, and it's about hold on, I just got lines pop up. They're going hard. It's about the fact that so there's like this, it's literally like Silo, but each level of this building has different skills and like you can't go up and down the levels, like the rich people at the top, the poor people at the bottom doing the work. And I think the whole spoiler. I think the whole point is they actually can go outside, but for some reason they stopped. But like, I think outside is actually like what's happening is all this shit's happening in the building and the rest of the world is just going about our day like normal. And they've in this space done like Stanford prison experiment and not left. Yeah. So it's very, Silo is like, it reminds me of that in terms of how like society will devolve. Okay, let's get to it.
Once we get past the first book, I'm going to read the first book. Because from my understanding, season 1 was like the first half of the first book, Wool. So once we get past the first book, I'm going to read the book because I'm very interested in this world.
Do you know, is Dune Prophecy a book?
No. Dune, sort of. It's so the guy who made Dune, his kids started writing books, like in the recent years, and they did something similar to this time, but I don't think it's 1-to-1 to a book.
Okay. Remind me when we start Dune to read you my favorite Dune review ever. I just need you to remind me so I don't forget.
Okay. So Jules is walking around. She see all these dead bodies and shit. She see the flag that the sheriff was holding. He next to it. You see the wife. It looks like with the kid curled up, dead. And then she comes over that hill, and it's just dead bodies as far as you can see. It had to be 1,000 people, crazy. Thousands of people, just thousands of corpses, just dead.
People clutching their babies. It's just like they all were so sure that there was a world out there for them.
And I said to myself, I don't know if this is the best silo to go in or the worst silo to go in. Like, is nobody there, so they might let you in? Because if you go to one where there's people in there, they might be like, fuck you. You ain't coming in here. But this one, there's no one there, so you can get yourself in. C gets in. The silo doors half open. Like, oh, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, like, you're right. Like, right. She could have, I guess, like, that's what she went to next. Cause like, I don't think everything else is, cause that door is open. So she probably couldn't get in, like you said, but it is like what if the whole thing was her knocking at doors and then being like, fuck off? Like, oh, like that would not be a fun episode.
The worst, so she gets in, she falls down. She stay falling. She's stepping over all these dead bodies because there's dead bodies up on the steps too, just all the way up the steps. To be
fair, yeah, she's trying not to crack ribs, so I wasn't actually that confused about her like being like whoa. Like that was a lot.
She gets through the secondary gate. She finds a lantern and a crowbar and keeps going. She uses the crowbar to get into the main door, but she's like hanging on it, like doing pull-ups to crack it open. I was like, look at this engineer. Look at her. And then her heat tape starts to come off. She starts freaking out. And when she gets in the silo, it's a fucking ghost town. And she goes in the caf, and you see the monitor in the caf, but it's got lies written all over it. Like they figured, like this is the fucking lie.
Same thing. Yeah, that's what everyone does.
And she starts to run out of air in her suit because I imagine they just put a limited amount of air, thinking we'll give you enough to like clean the shit, and then you're gonna die.
I mean, there's only so much air, you know.
And she can't breathe.
Wait, you thought she was gonna try to come back? Wait, what do you mean?
No, I'm saying when they send them out to clean, they give them just enough air to like die, not enough air to go anywhere because they were giving them shitty ass tape. And so then she cracks open the visor so she can breathe, and you find out that at least the air in the new silo appears to be okay, at least to some extent. She pours water all over her suit, which was smart. It seemed to me like she was just trying to rinse off any toxins that might have come from outside. Like, let me get this shit up off me before I take my mask off and pour this all over me so that I don't inhale any of this shit or bring it back into the silo. Because if you notice, like, when they go out, they do that thing like you see in space movies where they do the spray. They spray you and then you go out and then they open the door. And then when you come, and then when they close the door, if you remember, in the other silo, they fire it. They light torches and burn whatever came in. So I think that's what was happening there. So then she starts searching the silo, and she goes into this apartment, and it's like overgrown trees everywhere. There's no lights. And I was like, how long ago this rebellion happened? Because these motherfucking corpses are dead. But I don't know if whatever's happening outside, like, makes it look like it's been longer than it actually is because of whatever toxin is outside. So I'm very curious of how long ago this shit actually happened. And she goes into someone's apartment. She finds it's almost an exact replica of their silo, which would make sense, right? I don't know why they're there, but if something happened, the government had to build silos. It's much easier to build.
Why would they? They'd be like, this one's luxury. This one's
just build 50 of the same shits.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing else makes sense.
And she gets one of those jumpsuits. She puts the jumpsuit on. And I was like, yo, they told them that they were the last 10,000 people on Earth. And now Jules is in a whole nother silo that looks exactly like hers, that she just walked past thousands of dead bodies. Her mind has just got to be completely fucked up. Like, can you imagine that? Like what? Like, I think that's what's going to happen whenever we do find.
You've been sentenced to death. Yeah, you've been sentenced to death already. Like, yeah, that would fuck me up.
When we find the aliens, when they finally show us the aliens, the people on Earth that don't believe life exists outside of Earth are going to be completely fucked up. Like, their minds is going to be completely fucked up.
Oh, well, they've already showed us the aliens. What do you mean?
Yeah, but they didn't show us the aliens for real yet. They remember
that alien that was in that coffin? You don't remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I don't think that was the alien.
Okay. Oh, what was it?
They had some people. I mean, they might have lied, but they had some people go there and say that wasn't an alien. But when we see the aliens, people's lives are gonna be fucked up. That's all I know. When we see the fucking aliens, the first time we see it, we might see an alien sooner than we think because, not to get sidetracked, but they're going to Europa, which is the moon of Jupiter, and they believe that it's ice. The whole surface is ice, but under the ice, they got oceans under the ice with water, liquid water under the oceans in Europa. So NASA has a mission, I think it's like 2026, that they're going to Europa, and they have like this snake-like thing that's going to drill into the ice, like ice fishing.
Don't do that. We've seen Alien. You saw Alien.
They're going to drill into the ice and then go into the ocean.
Alien.
They're going to go into the ocean in Europa and see what's in there. And so we might see some aliens.
First of all, my first question is, what if we are the aliens?
We are aliens to someone else.
And then second of all, literally every movie has warned us, don't bring your ass to a new planet and a new environment with some technology and a drill thinking you're going to disrupt what's been there for millennia, and just drill a little hole and start like you're going to kickstart global warming for Europa now. That's crazy. That is a suicide mission.
Jupiter way out there.
Suicide mission. Do you know what's in that ice? I know what I know. I've seen aliens.
Let me tell you, I know what's in that ice can't get here if it's in that fucking ice.
That's not important. The important part is I need a camera. I need Andy and a camera, because I know I've seen Alien, I've seen Predator, I've seen Alien versus Predator, and somebody's coming back with an alien in their stomach.
We got to find the aliens. A person's not going. It's a machine. We can't send a person to Europa. They die as soon as they get there. It's radiation.
Oh, okay, cool. Well,
it's an unmanned ship, and they're dropping the machine in there, and the machine's going to drill down and send back the pictures and shit to us, like they do in the Mars rover.
If they let them go.
If they let them go, yes. If they let the machine go. And so she breaks the glass in the room to see if they had cameras, and she's like, "Oh, y'all got them cameras too. The fuck?" And so then we get our first flashback, and it's Jules' first day in mechanical. And Shirley's like, "Yeah, this is Juliet Nichols. She came down from the mids. I think she lost a bet." I was like, "What? They bet and send 11-year-olds down to mechanical?"
No, the answer is yes, but I also think that like it was because remember what happened was like, wasn't her mother like revolutionary and her dad didn't want to deal with it?
Yeah, her mom was building shit and she killed herself and unalived herself. I should say, we're on YouTube. She unalived herself.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. And then her brother died too, but he had like some type of condition that caused him to pass.
Mm-hmm. Well, so she's kind of like an orphan. I think instead of getting into her business,
well, her daddy's there. She just don't fuck with her daddy because she blamed him.
Exactly. Right, so she's orphan, but it's giving Anakin.
Well, yeah, a little bit. Anakin's evil. I don't think Jules is evil.
But little baby Anakin, his mama was there, and they was like, just drop him off wherever he needs to go to learn.
Yes. So she looked like 11, 12 years old. They got her working on a recycle line. And he's like, all the shitty stuff you incinerate, the good stuff we recycle, send it back up, and the really good stuff we give to Walker. So then they cut back to the present time, and she takes a break to look down, and she sees some lights on one floor. She's basically like, what the fuck's going on there? And she walks over, and there's lights over like the farming section. Like most of the farm shit is fucked up, but like this one section, they still got the lights on, and there's water coming out. So she's probably like, why is this shit still working? And she goes over there, she fills up her water bottle. And then we get another flashback. And this woman on the fucking line is like, hey, Juliet, you need to drink until your pee is clear. I was like, yo, what is going on? She finds a toy coming down the line.
I think what she's saying is that that's how you, because when your pee's not clear, you're in danger of being sick.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's what she's saying. But yeah, like they don't have time down there. Like there's no airs down there. That's a place that they fart and don't say excuse me. I can tell you that right now.
No. See, Jules finds a toy, says she wants to fix it. The dude was like, if you got time to fix it, you can do my job.
Yeah. You got time to leave, you got time to clean. That's what
he starts to yarn. The other woman was like, we keeping you a lick. I was like, God damn, this girl's 11. Like,
yeah,
it's her first day. Jesus Christ.
He really was on her ass. They were definitely on her ass.
And so Walker sees Jules has a toy trying to fix it. And Walker was like, hey, like, you can do that later. Why don't you fix this box? And Jules was like, what the fuck is this? And she's like, you should figure that shit out. And then Jules was like, it's been a while since I had a friend. And she starts to say, like, when her mom died. And Walker was like, hey, dog, we don't beat around the bush down here. Your mama killed herself. It's sad. It's fucked up. I feel bad for you. But say what happened. Like, say what happened.
Which was kind of unnecessary, but I understand she's trying to set the scene. But it's like, God damn, lady, like she's 11. Like she's opening up. I mean, also the premise of being like, why the fuck are you down here? Where's your boyfriend? That's really what she just did to her. And she's like, I'm helping you. Like, what is the problem?
And so then hold on, sorry.
So the toy thing, she has a toy, and like basically.
Oh no, sorry, I was making you a moderator in the YouTube chat, so I got distracted.
That's, you don't have to do that. I was just looking at my phone.
So then they she has this toy. She wants to fix it, and then Walker starts telling a story about she had this dream one day that everybody died and she was the only one left. And then she woke up, opened the door, and started screaming like, "Where's everybody? Where's everybody?" And someone said, "Hey Walker, shut the fuck up." And she was like, "That was the best day of my life. I needed to hear that." And so then they cut back to the present.
Well, and sorry, and then the like thematic piece there is like she's talking to her very early about isolation, and then the whole episode is about Walker or not Walker, Juliet in this world being isolated, and how the turnaround for her was like her nightmare was not being in that community, that supportive neighborhood community, and being alone all of a sudden. But actually, for Juliet to not be alone is also potentially very bad, like because she just is an unknown entity. So it's like that was a very interesting like story to bring through, or a way to talk about how she's like being prepared, or thinking how she's been prepared for this in some extent, like being singled out as a kid who went through really serious stuff.
So then she cut back to the present, and she's like looking at all these lights, and it looks like it's IT or judicial, like I said earlier. And she looks up, she sees some people, people hanging. I was like, they was hanging motherfuckers like in this rebellion. And so she goes and pulls the hanging people up so that she can get the rope. And she makes a long ass rope so she can try to swing across. But when she was climbing up, she heard some noise in the background, like some creaking noise, but didn't pay much attention to it. And then she's on the rope and she's swinging back and forth. And then next thing you hear is snap, and she falls. And I said, this actually got me. Because, and the reason why it got me is because the first episode of season 1, I thought the whole show was going to be about Rashida Jones. And they killed her in one episode. And I was like, oh, maybe Jules is dying and they're going to go to somebody else, like the rest of the story. I don't know. That's
hilarious.
But then you see Jules fall into water, and you remember that they flooded the generator. So like the whole bottom floors is like a pool. But these motherfuckers ain't never seen no pool before, so she don't know how to swim. So she's kicking and screaming.
Wait, and remember, her dumbass almost died in water in the other silo because they also flooded the connection between her original silo and the next silo. So you would think she would learn how to doggy paddle in the time in between, but that's just.
And she finds something to float on, and she ends up floating to the stairs. And
she was so mad. She was just pissed the fuck off. She was like, she had did all that work. She had been hauling people over, putting people to rest, and she did all that just to fuck around and fall in. And then her dumbass walks up there. The rope is cut. Like somebody took some big old jumbo Key to the City ribbon cutting scissors and chopped that shit like an Acme cartoon. And she's like, whoa, I don't know. Bitch, somebody's there.
Yeah, that's later. But yeah, absolutely. At the time, I didn't know someone. That was later. So yeah, she had a breakdown. Just started screaming because she's all alone. She just fell like the fuck. Then they get a third Jules flashback. She goes down under with Shirley to the place where her and George was. So apparently she'd been there before George took her. And she was down there, and they walked past. This was very interesting. They walked past this wall that has like all this writing, graffiti, and random shit on it. And there's a picture of an eye that's blue, like somebody with like a blue eye, like an eye with blue eyes person. And we see a blue eye later in this episode, which was very interesting. But Shirley tells a story about she came down here with some people one time and they played a trick on her and they left and cut all the lights off. And she was like, how the fuck you get her out of here? She said, really slowly. And I found my way out. And Jules was like, I couldn't do that. And Shirley was like,
she also makes a joke about how she died and she hasn't left. And I'm like, they're about to kill this black girl. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, we see her grown up in the silo.
Do we?
Yeah, that's her short-haired friend that's like down with Jules. Remember at the end of the episode when they snitched on her, she was mad. Like, why the fuck you tell them about this? Like that person?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, that's her.
Oh, that's her go then. Okay.
Yeah. And Jules was like, I couldn't do it. And Shirley says, you could. What else are you going to do? Die? And then they cut back to the present where she is alone in the dark. And Jules goes back up. This is the part you talked about. She goes back up and she looks at the rope and it's fucking cut. And then she's walking around. She sees some fixtures and she's like, oh, I got an idea. And she starts breaking the fixtures. And then we get like a montage and she like tying some shit up with rope and soldering some shit and putting this on that and that on this. And you come to find out she's building like a makeshift bridge. And I was like, yo, she is brilliant. She's the smartest person in this universe. Like, what is going on?
Women. I mean, it just goes back to like pioneer skill. Ooh, that's wrong. Colonizer skills. When George took her down. Okay. Nicole, thanks for tuning in. Nicole says that part I thought was odd. When George took her down there, I thought that was the first time she'd been down there. Then she's been down there when she was a kid. Ooh, exactly. You found a plot hole.
I don't think that's a plot hole. I think she was just, she liked George. So she was, you know how like sometimes you'll act like you like something for the person that you with, even though you already know it's going to happen, or pretend to be surprised. I think that's what it was. It's like, she's like, I'm into George. He's into this place. I'm not going to act like I've been down here before.
Maybe, but wait, hold on, pause. How long have we been streaming?
45 minutes.
I just realized we have a typo in our title. Do you see it?
Oh yeah, I spelled episode wrong.
I missed that. That is a great example of how the brain just computes. Okay, thank you. So maybe. I mean, you know, but good catch, Nicole. I think that it is possible they're building out the prequel as they go, and I feel like that would be something that like people would. I can also see them having some things where they're like, no one will remember that. Like, and then we're all like, oh, I went through with the fine tooth comb and remember when she met him. But yeah, I think that we'll see if like maybe she was always down there. Maybe she only went that one time because it terrified her, because I would be shook too. So if they keep going down there, then yeah, I'd be confused.
So she builds this bridge. She ties the rope around her waist as like protection. And she starts walking across the bridge. Remember what Shirley said, slow, very slow. And it starts to creak. And she's like, oh, this shit's going down. She just jumps and hangs on to the edge. She's also strong as fuck. Because last season, the dude that Common that Robert threw over the bridge that killed the white dude police officer, he threw Jules over the edge, and she was hanging on to that shit for dear life till somebody came and helped her. And now she's hanging on, like she be doing them pull-ups down the engineering. She got them.
Honestly, I need to get my life together. Whenever I watch a movie and people have to survive, it's always upper arm strength. And so I've been trying to do my little 10-second holds. Because as of right now, I'd be cooked. With that said, though, that's not how she did it. She should have did it. She should have did it Looney Tunes style. She should have definitely ran across that bitch and just told gravity not to fuck with her. Because the way I would have been just like I would have been
right back in that fucking water.
I would have been temple runner in that bitch. They would have been, my feet would have still been moving. There would have been a dust of air.
And she gets over there and she has to cut her rope off to make it. And she starts walking through this section. She hears a beeping noise.
Because she was hanging, so like that rope would have actually pulled her back. So very smart. Always keep a knife in your belt.
And the beeping noise was, it was a lanyard on a fan. I was like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, it was like a tick. Yeah, okay, so that interesting, right? So there was a I think the whole time she was trying to figure out, is there someone here? Because she's hearing a noise. Mm-hmm. And it was it was like a inconsistent but consistent noise. So she's like, okay, somebody's in here maybe doing something, and they, you know, whatever reason weren't listening to her. And so I think she wanted to see someone, and so was disappointed, but also probably relieved. And it would be funny if someone was there, because it's like, where have you been? Like, how long have you been stuck on this side of the bridge? Or like, how are you going around, right? Because it doesn't seem like that's connected to it. Like, it doesn't seem like there's stairs on that side, or else they wouldn't have had to go up that way. And I do think that I'm pretty like confirmed this is a connection to another silo, like where this is, or something like that, because there's a door to something else.
Well, no, maybe, but what that door, we'll get to it in a second, because I think I know what that is.
Okay. Well, but yeah, so she's disappointed, and but I was just like, something's still going, like somebody's something's generating energy, and the generator's been flooded. So the fans on, the lights on, somebody's doing something somewhere.
There's some secondary energy source.
Yeah, and your rope got cut, and your rope was cut clean, honey. By shears. Okay.
So then she she keeps walking around. She sees something went down. It's clear something went down over here. Like some type of battle happened here. And then she sees that bridge thing that the rebels had, and it's just like leaned up against the wall. And I think she thinks, well, I can use this so I can get back and forth. So she takes some barrels, puts them on the ground, puts the thing on top of the barrel so that she can roll that heavy shit, and then puts some like sandbags on top of that so that it can stay down so it doesn't tip over when you walk on it, because it has to distribute the weight. And she rolls that shit to the edge and then runs it real fast so it slides across with inertia. And then she puts the sandbags on top, and she got herself a bridge.
Do we believe it wouldn't have fell in the water, the tip of it?
I think if you put enough energy behind it, it would keep going, because the gravity is going to keep going until it runs out of energy, then it comes down. So if she puts enough energy into it, it'll go until it runs out of energy. Who the fuck
was teaching her physics too?
They had to learn physics because they was down there mechanical. So to be down there, you got to know some type of type of stuff. So then she starts stepping on it like, okay, we good. And she starts to walk away. And then she hears some music playing.
Here's music.
And she's like, what the fuck is this shit? And she starts walking back, following the music, and it's getting a little bit louder and getting a little bit louder. And then she gets to like this really locked area with like a keypad. And I said, this is the fucking room from the end of season 1. If you didn't go back and watch it, but the very end of season 1, after Jules walks over the hill, Bernard goes, she knows. And he runs out of the cafeteria where he was watching with everybody else. And he has this key that says like 18 on it. And he runs to his other room. And it's like a room that's the key for to get in, like a server room of some sort. And that's what this looked like, the same type of doors to the server room from season 1. So whoever's back there figured that shit out.
I think there's at least 18 silos, and he has a key for silo 18. And I think that's like the like break room for the silo leaders.
Well, I don't think that's true. And here's why. Because in season 1, she was saying, remember, she was like telling the truth. She was telling everything to him at the end. And she was like, yeah. And George, y'all killed George because he found the tunnel at the bottom that links all the silos together. And Bernard was like, what? Like, he didn't say it, but his face was like, what? There's a door down there? Like, so he didn't know that their silos were linked to each other.
Or
I think they talk to each other there, but I don't think they're linked like physically. I think they talk to each other. Because if they were linked to each other, that dude in there would have been in the other silo at this point, because no one else there.
I think he goes back and forth. I think he's the one powering it, but I mean, we'll see. So the guy, she's knocking on the door because someone's clearly playing music for her. And the guy opens it and he has one green eye, one blue eye, or whatever the fuck. It was definitely mixed. So you think that has to do with the blue eye thing?
Yeah.
And then he says, oh, hey, I know you heard the music. I'm glad you heard it. I was signaling you. And I know you see a door and you want to open it, but if you open it again, I'll kill you. What?
That's right. And then that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, just some weird shit. And then so what do we think is he's protecting from? Radiation?
First of all, I think that's one of the people that we saw in the first flashback. So I don't think it's the sheriff. I think it's one of the people the sheriff was talking about. Either the one person where he said, why didn't he open the door? I think that might be him. Or Russell. Because we saw a dude named Russell by name. He was like, take Russell alive. And then we saw him pick up Russell and then we didn't see where he took Russell. And so I think it's like one of those people from the beginning of the show. But we don't know anything else besides that. And I don't think we're going to find out in episode 2. I don't watch the previews, so I don't know what's going to happen.
You should watch the previews. They don't give anything away.
That's what you say.
They don't.
But I think next episode is going to be back in our old silo, which I'm very interested to see.
Yeah, for sure.
What the hell was happening with those people?
Well, I know you've seen the preview, the trailer.
Yeah, I saw the trailer.
Yeah, it's gonna rain down. Juliet lives. Like Juliet becomes like a living legend or a martyr, basically, for the cause. Because now it's even worse. Because now they know now they didn't see her die. That's what I'm saying. It's better to see people die and hear them die, because now they're like, oh, we should go outside. So now you got a worse thing on your hands than if you just like dealt with it accordingly.
I agree with that point. What else are you looking forward to next week?
I mean, they're gonna build up the universe. They still have a diverse cast. We'll meet Common's wife and still see what she's talking about. So we get more from her. Nicole says, I'm dying. I've read the books and I can give y'all some answers, but I'm going to be good. Yeah, Brandon will literally be so... I can't tell you how mad he would be. I know, Nicole, I know why they're in them silos. I've read that part, but I don't want to know what happens from here, because then we never know. Maybe one day I'll look. But as far as I know right now, I know the event that happened and who put the silos together. And we know they're in an English speaking country. So I think I know that those context clues, but which doesn't mean anything in real life. I'm just saying we know they're in America or Europe. So yeah, I am excited. I'm excited for getting back into the show. This show is not one that I was that pumped for, but as I watch it, I'm okay, I'm very drawn into what I'm watching and very intrigued. So I think in a couple episodes I'll be back into it. And I think they just drag stuff out a little bit, but I think there's a lot happening, and so I'm not mad about it. So anyway, I'm looking forward to getting back into it.
The only show I think I might be more excited for that we're going to be reviewing on this podcast is Severance in January.
Oh yeah, Severance is going to be crazy.
I love Severance, but this is my shit. I'm very excited next episode. I want to see what's going on with Robert, right? Because Robert knew about the IT Common. He knew about the IT room and all that shit. But if you remember, when Jules put that shit, when they had that green, the nice thing that they put in the video, when Jules had them hack all the computers and put that shit on the video, Bernard told Robert to turn around. He was like, don't look at this shit. Forget what you saw. So Robert didn't know about that shit, right? So he's going to start to question. He's the most loyal motherfucker there, and he's supposed to be Bernard's shadow. Because remember, in the silo, everybody has shadows, right? Because you got to teach somebody else for the next generation of people to do what you're doing, because they don't got books and shit. It's not like they got the internet where you can just learn. So you got to teach shit. So Bernard was like, hey, you might be my shadow, but now he might start to question some shit, right? He might start to question some shit that's happening. So I'm interested to see what happens there. I want to see how the Down Deep react, because they was down for Jules. That was their day one. They love her down there. And they're going to be mad. They're going to be mad they up to some bullshit. And then I want to see what Dudley Do-Right's going to be doing with his shaky hand, because he was too, everything was by the pack. I was the pack champion 6 years in a row. Now you got to, and Jules left him the fucking book. If you remember, the Book of Georgia, and he started reading that book and was crying. That was one of the funniest but best scenes in season one. He just had he's reading this, he just had tears coming out, looking at the ocean and shit, because he couldn't believe what his mind was seeing. So I'm very interested in seeing what's happening with them. So that's next week. So we'll be back next week for episode 2. Thank you, everybody that was on our live chat participating. Please subscribe and come back next week when we stream next week. And also, if you are inclined, go to find us at We Was Siloed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. That really helps us a lot on that platform as well. You can send us an email at wewasdragonspod@gmail.com. For new listeners, we started doing this podcast with House of the Dragon 3 years ago, and so we just kept the email. And then you can also follow us on Twitter at We Was Watching Podcast. Eventually, I think we're just going to make the show We Was Watching. I just keep cheating for SEO, naming the show. But I think eventually we're just going to, I think after Severance, I think we're just going to name it We Was Watching, so it's the same everywhere.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But we're still building our audience, although it's growing, and we appreciate all of y'all. So thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Chanel, do you have a silly catchphrase?
Not silly. None of my catchphrases are silly.
Oh,
but
excuse me.
anyway, we thanks for watching. We was watching, and just because we was siloed doesn't mean you shouldn't appreciate your friends.
You ain't think that one through. That was on the fly right there.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense, though. I think it's about the power of friendship and the friends we learned along the way podcasting.
Okay, Papa Doc. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to y'all later.